Hello, my name is June, and I'm from Malaysia. And I have been practicing macrobiotics for about 30 years. And I started a macrobiotics center in 1993 in Kuala Lumpur. And I have been teaching, doing diet consultation, and serving meals to the public since then. And I'm very pleased that I have this center set up because there are many people in need of health food, the real health food. And I'm very happy, that I could teach students in sharing my knowledge. And I learned a lot from my students during my teaching time. And here I will share my knowledge on macrobiotics foundation from the Eastern perspective. Right? And I'm going to briefly introduce Fuxi Nuwa. They are both the creators of humanity in the East, and how yin and yang concept developed in connection with seasonal change, the 5 energy transformation, how the 8 trigram developed. Also, Shen Nong, who was a herbalist, also Yellow Emperor. All right. I think you must have heard about Yellow Emperor, as in the Meridian Classic. All right. And so this is the content I'm going to share because the topic is very huge. So I will touch on, but not into detail. Foundation of macrobiotics in the East, and the creators of humanity, Fuxi and Nuwa, and development of surviving tools, hunting skill, and marriage formalization, and clothing, how they develop clothing and planting methods and characters. They used to tie knots to mark the event, and later on they develop characters. And also pottery, and the 4-season transformation, and nice ducky, how nice ducky was developed initially, 8 trigram development, and the Yi-ching, and the 5-pitch music instrument was developed at that time too. And the father of grains and medicinal herbs, Shen Nong, and the Yellow Emperor, and the internal Meridian Classic. Okay, and lastly, we shall have some Q&A if you have any question. All right, so this is, can you see the picture here? This is a silk scroll of Fuxi. I have a mistake here. Fuxi is F-U-Z-I, and Nuwa. And this scroll was unearthed at a cemetery in Tuban, Xinjiang, Northeast China. And Fuxi on the right, can you see? Okay, Fuxi on the right is holding a ruler, because during that time, the earth is square, right? And Nuwa was holding a compass, and they believed that the sun was round. And they had human upper bodies and dragon-like or snake-like lower bodies, and intertwined, resembling the earliest human DNA pattern. All right, can you see the lower body as in the shape of the tail of a dragon or snake, all right? And on the background, you have the sun, and below is the moon, and at the background are all the stars, yeah, in the universe. And this clearly shows that during that time, Fuxi and Nuwa and their subjects are very closely related to nature, all right? And the sun and moon, the stars, and so on are in the picture. That's explaining the relationship. Okay, all right. And this is the picture of Fuxi looking at the 8 trigram. And this is a brush painting in the Ming Dynasty. And this is the picture of Nuwa, also a silk painting, where you can see the lower body resembling the shape of a dragon or snake. All right. Of course, this is mythology, so nobody knows for sure whether they look like this or not, because it's been so far away and so ancient, and no record of whatsoever, yeah, being left. And this is the story about 7,000 years ago in Northeast China. And Fuxi's mother, her name is Huashu, and she was a tribe leader during the matriarchal society. During that time, nobody knows who was the father. So the mother was the person behind the society. And one day she was strolling near a river, and she found gigantic footprints along the river bank. And she was amazed, and she stepped into the footprints to compare the sizes with her feet, and later was found pregnant. So this is unbelievable, right? And Fuxi and Nuwa was born as twins 12 years after their mother's pregnancy. And Fuxi inherited his mother's selfless and fearless spirit and contributed greatly to the benefit of the people, right? And Fuxi and Nuwa decided to get married after a serious flood, and they found themselves to be the only 2 survivors in the aftermath. And they asked for permission to get married from the universe. And they put up 2 piles of fire. And if the 2 piles of fire fuse together as one fire, and is considered permission granted, so they could get married. And so the 2 piles of fire fused together, and finally they got married. And Nuwa created human beings by shaping 100 figurines of clay. And she just blew air into them and instilled life to them, and they are alive. And she later created domestic livestock as well in the same way. So they have a big, huge community then. All right. And Fuxi's contribution to humankind is so great. And he was considered a hero in humankind. And he invented, knots tying to mark events. And later on, he noticed, the spiders are building the web in the jungle. So he observed, and then he invented the fishing net. So he taught his subjects how to fish. And also he formalized marriage and started patriarchal society. So with this kind of new system, the society has been stabilized. Yeah? And he first developed Chinese characters writing called Changjie by observing the nature, you know, the shape of the moon, shape of the sun, and then he initially developed the characters, but later on, the characters were further developed by future emperors of the dynasty. He observed the natural environment and the seasonal change according to the movement of the Big Dipper, you know. As you can see in the diagram on the right, there are about 7 stars, yeah, grouped together in the shape of a dipper, and there's a handle as well, all right? So by observing this movement of this group of stars, Fuxi was able to observe the change in seasons. And when the dipper handle points to the east, spring arrives, and all life force begins. When pointing to the south, summer arrives, so the atmosphere was busy with growth. When pointing to the west, autumn time begins, so leaves turn yellow, temperature becomes colder and contracted. When pointing to the north, snow falls and freezing temperature is here. So life falls under the ground and winter time, yeah. So he was able to observe and conclude, you know, the connection between the movement of the stars and the seasons, right? And also he observed the shadow of the pole under the sun and concluded the distance of the sun over, you know, during the 4 seasons. And summertime, the shadow was found shorter. We are talking about the northern hemisphere here. And in the winter, the shadow was longer. And spring and autumn about the same length, but longer than that of the summer and shorter than winter, all right? And by observing the movement of the stars and constellation, the sun, the rivers, mountains, and rainfall, weather changes, and the vegetation and human life, he concluded the 5 energy transformation over a period of a year, and the harmonious energy between the yin and yang, you know, the night and day, the summer and the winter. So also he developed the 24 solar terms as the agricultural tools, right? So how the 8 trigram was developed. So there are 8 groups of symbols in the 8 trigram. As you can see, you know, they are made up of lines, heavy lines and broken lines, and then upper and lower lines. And we are not going into details. And he observed, you know, the natural environment, the earth, the heaven, the earth. And when the thunder is going on and the wind blows, water is flowing and the fire is burning. and lakes and mountains. So, when there's a heaven on top and the earth below, and the lines solid and the bottom ones are broken, and it makes things fall into the right places. So according to this tradition, Fuxi was able to develop, he drew out the 8 trigram initially, and this diagram was initially revealed to him in the markings on the back of a tortoise. It's kind of mystical, but it was said this marking appeared on the back of a tortoise, right? And this is on the left, where you have the tortoise, at the on the shelf, where you can see the markings, where it resembles the symbols of the 8 trigram. Yeah? On the right is the He-tu, and the tortoise was recorded in the Lu-su. Lu-su is something like a classic, a record. And on the right is the He-tu. Also, this it's like a dragon horse that appear and carrying the marking on the back, where it resembles the celestial map. Yeah, okay. And this is called the He-tu classic. All right. And with this, was able to develop the 8 trigram and the celestial map, right? And this is how they developed later. On the right is the markings on the turtle back, and on the right, on the left is the marking on the tortoise back, and on the right is the marking on the dragon horse, right? And this marking on the right is the initial foundation for development of the Yi-ching, okay? And the diagram on the left is the initial development of yin and yang energy and the 5 energy transformation, right? Okay, and later on, this diagram were developed into the 8 trigram and the 9 magic square, where we learn 9 star key from our teachers, all right? And now some entertainment for you. I would like you to feedback whether this music is yin or yang. And this instrument was developed by Fuxi. It's called a Yi-ching, and it's got 5 pitch. It's a musical instrument developed to enhance the happiness of his subject. All right. So let us try and listen. And bear in mind, you need to feedback whether this music is a yin or yang music. you have the link here, so you could also listen to it later on. So we are moving on. And let's listen to this one. It's Beethoven Symphony No. 5. All right, so I move on. You could listen it here at the link. So I will briefly introduce the Yellow Emperor. He's one of the emperors in China who also contributed hugely in humankind. And after Fuxi discovered this celestial map, and the Yellow Emperor revised and developed it into Yi-ching, the yin and yang energy connection between, I mean, among men, heaven, and apply to the medical text. And the Yellow Emperor's internal Meridian classic was developed at this time too by the Yellow Emperor and his assistants in the palace, right? And this is Shen Nong. He was the father of agriculture and medicinal herbs. So he taught his subject how to plant food, and then to change from hunting into agriculture. And also he searched the whole of China for medicinal herbs, and he nearly died after trying on 100 varieties of poisonous herbs. And these herbs have been traditionally used until the modern days and documented in Shen Nong Ben Chao Jing. In other words, it's called Compendium of Materia Medica. Yeah, it's still being used till now, and the herbs are being widely distributed in the world, you know. And these are the three emperors during that time. And they were known as the three sovereigns who contributed tremendously to the benefit of humankind. And now you can visit their memorial hall of Fuxi, located in Gansu, northwest China. And Yellow Emperors at Huangling County, Yan'an City, Shanxi province in China. And Shen Nong, you can visit his memorial hall at Suzhou, northwest of Hebei province, right? So the wisdom of void, is called Tai Chi, and the Tao, yin and yang concept of harmony, Yi-ching, meridians, acupuncture skill, remedial herbs were later transmitted to Korea, Japan, and other parts of the world, and have been widely practiced by people of all walks of life. Yeah. Me too, I'm a fan of acupuncture. And for further information, you could listen to the audio at this link here. And if you have any question, or if you like me to talk on some topics that you would be interested in relation to Fuxi and the Yellow Emperor, you could contact me at my email here. All right. So now I will leave some time for questions if you have. Right.
So I encourage everyone, you can unmute yourself if you have a question. June, I'm wondering if you have your opinion about the yin and yang of the music that we heard.
Oh yeah. Please feedback to me. How is your feedback on the music? So number one is the Oriental Yi-ching music, whether you feel whether the energy is yin or yang, and also Beethoven's, whether it's yin or yang to you, I mean, how you feel about them. So comparing the two, you need to have some basic analytical skill. When we learn about macrobiotics, huge and small, or single and multiple, and spacey and enclosed, and loud and not so loud, things like that. Let's see any feedback. Do you wish to listen one more time?
You're getting some answers now.
Wait, let me check.
Both music samples were inspiring. The first yin, the second yang.
Right.
Tolkien is yin, the first yin, the second yang. Beethoven is yang. First yin, second yang.
Okay. So, any more?
Everyone says first yin, second yang. Maybe if you're comparing them to each other.
We need comparison to determine the yin and yang. So the first music with only a solo performance is more yang than the symphony of orchestra, because orchestra has got a huge, musicians and different kinds of instruments playing together, and is loud and is many sounds and vibes together. and conductors as well. You know, the movement is a lot, and also the music of different kinds of pitch, you know. And for the first music, where it's, you have the solo performance, we call it a more young and focused kind of presentation, because there's only one person. And when you listen to it, you're more focused, and there's only 5 pitch in the instruments, and it's simple and it's delightful as well, and it's stabilizing, grounding energy that you could feel. So comparing the two, the first one with the solo player is more young than the orchestra. All right. Okay.
You have a question here that Hong is attracted to a certain kind of music. Does that say anything about our character and personality?
It's not so much about characters and personality, but your energy seems to be attracted simply because you lack, maybe if you're attracted to a young music because your body is too yin, maybe you're too weak, or you need some young vibes to charge your energy. So if you're attracted to more yin music, that means your energy could be a bit too young, so that you are attracted to the more yin music, right? It all depends on your own energy, not so much on characters or liking or something, right? Okay. But have you entertained? Have you been entertained by the music? Right. Okay. Any further questions?
Do you consider the force of the music as well?
Pardon?
Do you consider the force of the music?
Yeah,
It's
of course.
Forcefulness. Because that Beethoven, that's hard to say is yin music. Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Because, you know, the rhythm is fast. Mm-hmm. It's fast, it's active, and it's loud. Yeah. And it's spacey. It brings you to a place where, you know, you feel spacey, right?
Good.
There could be more than 100 kind of instruments there, so it could be loud and noisy, can be forceful, right? Okay, if there's no further questions, shall we stop here?
Someone was commenting on something I saw. The last slide, when you showed Fuxi and Yellow Emperor, and the third one, the first and the third pictures look pretty similar to each other, almost the same.
You mean the 3 emperors?
Yes.
Yeah, because it was so ancient, and then, you know, it relies on people, you know, the artists to draw. So by words of mouth or description, you know, they painted the picture.
Mm-hmm. And then someone is commenting, it appears that there's yin and yang in both musics, both pieces.
Yeah, depending on your own energy, you know. It all depends on your own energy. Yeah. There's
what
no,
you see.
Yeah, how you feel at that time, you know.
Very good.
Right.
I'll give my appeal one more time. Anybody who has not given me an email address and would like to, in order to know about future programs, just go ahead and put it in the chat, either to everyone or personally to me, and then we'll get you signed up. June, you have wonderful students really devoted to you. It's very impressive.
I'm impressed too.
And I invite all of you that if you can stay awake, I know it's 8, almost 9 o'clock for you over there in Malaysia. You're welcome to remain with us for the rest of the program.
Yeah, we will. We will.
Good. Good. Love to have you.
Right.
Oh. Clara, you can mute yourself maybe.
I wanted to say if they can't stay away, they could go to the recordings.
Also, that's right.
And we have 86 people. That's the highest we've ever had. So June, that's amazing. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for attending my talk. And I hope we shall meet again. And I hope you enjoy, although it's a brief introduction, I hope I could do better in the future. And if you would like to have any specific topic you would like me to discuss, feel free to email me or Gina. Thank you so much for your attendance. We'll see you again.
Very good. Thank you so much.
See
Very
you.
Good. So
Bye.
I invite everyone, if you want to take a break, put water in, take water out, whatever. We have 15 minutes and we'll start at the top of the coming hour for our second speaker. So take a break if you like. Keep sending me email addresses if you want to do that. June, you can read more messages.
Right.
I will, meanwhile, yeah, very, very good. Very well done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.